just killed me that we only had such small amount of people at the rest stop. We needed more strangers. And we needed the reveal of the bad guys to not come so early in the movie. What's up? It's Nikki. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be reviewing the Hulu original movie, No Exit, about a group of strangers stuck at a rest stop during a snowstorm when one of them discovers there is a child tied up in the back of someone's van. The movie starts out with our lead, Darby, a young woman in rehab where she has been time and time before. She gets an emergency phone call that her mother is in the hospital with a brain aneurysm. Now, the rehab will not let her leave or make outgoing phone calls when she sneaks on a cell phone that one of the other girls in rehab with her is hiding. Darby's sister refuses to call the rehab to get her out of there so that she can go and see her mother. Darby then decides to just break out of rehab and go anyway. Now, this part was crazy to me because Darby runs down the hallway loudly and busts through an exit door loudly. Also, I'm not sure how rehab works exactly, but are you in just unlocked rooms that connect to hallways that connect to unlocked doors that lead outside? So Darby uses a screwdriver to steal the car of one of the rehab workers. Now, I was confused as to what cell phone she was using. I'm sure the other girl in rehab who smuggled in the phone wouldn't just let Darby leave with it. Also, I wouldn't think that the rehab employee would have left her phone in the car. But anyway, she ends up texting her sister that she is on her way and will be there by morning. Now, her sister texts her, "Do not come. Mom does not want you here. I don't want you here." Darby ends up pulling over on the side of the road, and we can see her flashback to, I think it's her in a car overdosing, locked in the car because someone is banging on the window. This kind of doesn't go anywhere though. I have no clue what this was. I mean, we get it. Darby is an addict and has burned bridges with her family. But this flashback just had no context at all. Was that Darby's sister banging on the window? Was that the final event that disconnected her from her family? A cop ends up knocking on the window, informing Darby that the road ahead is closed due to the incoming blizzard, that she can either go back the way she came or she can go to a rest stop that he has opened for a few other strangers. Now, this was confusing for me because I was not clear on why, once in the thick of the events of the movie, why didn't we try to get in the car and just go back the way we came? I mean, the cop tells her to either go to the rest stop or go back the way she came. I don't know. Also, the weather outside, nah, I'm a Floridian and not familiar with snow, but it didn't look undrivable type of weather. I mean, it wasn't the type of snowing weather where you can't see barely in front of you and you can hardly walk because the snow has fallen so much that it's like to your knees or something. I don't know. I mean, it looked drivable enough when you need to get away from murderers. I was also confused how the cop did not see the screwdriver in place where a car key would go. I feel like that is pretty visible if you're standing at the driver window. Now, once at the rest stop, we have He's a good man, Savannah. Playing Ed, an ex-Marine. I really wish they would have given this character a much more proper, badass death. I hated how he died. I don't hate that he had to die because, I mean, this type of movie, child, he gonna die. I just really wish that he could have went out fighting. Having him just get shot was a letdown, anticlimactic. It just added nothing, pretty much. I also said at the top of the movie, if the Marine gets taken out easily, I'm gonna be mad. And that is exactly what happened. Ed should have been smarter, in my opinion. Yeah, he started to sense that something was up, something was awry, something was amiss, but I just feel like he should have peeped-ish a lot sooner. I mean, why would Darby tell a complete stranger that her dad took his own life? And when they kept zooming in, like, something had to be up with those three. Also, there is a scene where Lars clears his throat and it says something. They don't let the audience hear before going out to find the little girl when she gets free. But Ed had already established in the BS game that clearing his throat is Lars' tell that he's lying. So why didn't Ed pick up on that in that moment? We also have Ed's friend who was a military nurse, Sandy, who was involved in probably the best twist of the movie, which I will get into later. We also have Ash and Lars. Now, this is a little just low-grade, mediocre thriller, but that does not mean that it was not entertaining. This is a low-grade thriller, but a few good twists and some exceptional actors take this a step above. We have the typical characters making dumb decisions. We have some cliche events, some cliche dialogue in areas, but the actors really elevated this from mediocre to good, in my opinion. Ash was one of my faves. I really enjoy attractive actors playing diabolical or crazy or ruthless type characters, because I feel like you never expect traditionally attractive people to be the bad guy. Making Ash one of the bad guys was a good idea. The scene when Darby is in the van trying to free the little girl and we discover that it is two men who kidnapped her, and Darby looks out of the van window and sees Ash and Lars together, was really good to realize that they were both in on it together. First of all, it made no sense that when Lars first goes to the van, he goes to the driver's side, but then when he comes back out to the van, he goes to the passenger side. That made no sense at all, and it just felt like the writer's way to conveniently have him see Darby's footprints in the snow and know that someone was out there and saw the little girl in the van. Now, when Darby is in the restroom, first of all, Ash going back there looking for Darby made no sense. Point blank, period. He was in the rest stop with everyone else the entire time. He had no clue that Darby could get outside from the restroom. He shouldn't have given a crap, really, what the heck some stranger was doing in the restroom. I don't care how long she had been back there. I mean, why would you care? I don't know. Ash going to check on her in the restroom, especially when no one knew she could get out to the outside, just wasn't logical for me. But Darby telling him that Lars has a little girl tied up in a van was even more illogical. I ain't trusting nobody. Period. Now, I called it from the very beginning that Ash was the bad guy. That was the first person who I called when I thought was the suspect. I hated how obvious the movie was about Lars being the bad guy. For me, that is just bad writing. The Nevada thing, his attitude, just everything was way too obvious. Now, I called it that Ash was the bad guy because I also felt the movie being so obvious about Lars I feel like I saw the movie Lars and the Real Girl, but every time I say Lars, I feel like I say it weird. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm country. But the movie being obvious about Lars, I felt like that meant it was not him. But when it is revealed that Lars is the kidnapper, I figured, okay, well, I guess I was wrong and it's not Ash. So I thought it was a good twist when it was revealed that Ash was in on it with Lars. But how did the guys come into the rest stop separate to fool everyone into thinking they were strangers and didn't know each other? That's the only part that I'm not clear on. I mean, they were riding in the same vehicle, but came inside separately. Were they the first ones at the rest stop? Even though whoever was second wouldn't have seen it was only one car in the parking lot. I don't know. Anyway, I thought there was only one bad guy. I did not call it that there were two, mainly because we had such a limited amount of people. The filmmakers really needed way more people stuck at the rest stop, in my opinion. They needed a more menacing and unknown threat. I hated that we found out who the bad guys were so quick. Like, for me, that would have really amped this up. I would have preferred if the little girl did not know the identity of the kidnappers. I would have preferred having people like popping up dead maybe, or we trying to, help the little girl, but we don't know who the bad guy is. This was one of those single setting, who's the bad guy type of movies, and I love movies like that. Movies like Identity and I See You with Sylvester Stallone. Now, going into No Exit, I thought we would spend much more of the movie not knowing who the bad guy was, like in the movies that I just referenced. But with No Exit, we found out pretty quickly who the bad guys were. And I feel like revealing that mystery so freaking soon really hurt the movie. Not knowing who to trust or who the bad guy is really adds an element of tension and suspense and excitement that this movie could have really benefited from. Why did they make the identity of Lars as the bad guy so motherfucking obvious? That irks my nerves, and I'm really just baffled. Like, just Jesus, red flashing signs. I don't understand. That just really irked my nerve. Why did they reveal the identity of both bad guys so freaking quickly? Like, reveal one, have the little girl say it's two people, but don't let us know who the second person is. It made no sense to me that Darby spilled all of her secrets to Ash. I would not have told him nothing about my dad or my drug problem or whatever the heck. I mean, he a stranger. He don't know me. I could just lie. That threw me. I'm not sure why anyone would do that. When Sandy comes into the restroom and asks to speak to Darby when Ash is back there with her, Ash whispering in her ear, F this up and I'll kill everyone. Child, you cannot whisper in a dead quiet room with someone a few feet away and they not hear what you said. I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Now, when we find out that the little girl has something called Addison's disease, that if she gets too worked up, wound up, etc., she will overdose on adrenaline. This was a good element in my opinion, because it's like, dang, I can't even run with the little girl because she gonna fall out of town if she get too worked up. Like, how are we supposed to run for our lives or fight for our lives when the little girl can literally just drop dead if she get riled up? I thought this was a good element. Now, after Ed finds the little girl passed out in the snow with Lars and Ash running through the woods after Darby, then Darby getting back to the rest stop before the guys do, having Ed, Darby, and Sandy hold up inside. Y'all, look. When the little girl wakes up, looks at Sandy, and goes, Mrs. Lowry? That intro was so freaking good. That reminded me of the moment when Carol's daughter came out the barn on Walking Dead, child. I don't know, maybe I'm giving this too much credit to liking it to that. But that ish was really good, in my opinion. Like, y'all, I was watching this mug, like, how in the mother freaking, like, how did this generic mid-grade thriller get me like this? Because I ain't see it coming. And look, I love a mid-grade thriller. I personally find them entertaining. Cliche, yeah, but entertaining. But they're cliche, so I can usually predict everything. The fact that I did not see that coming, I thought this was good. Now, child, I was confused why the writers chose this specific flashback. So we see that Sandy is the little girl's maid, and child, after the flashback, I was confused on my feelings. Because the little girl is supposed to be the victim, right? And the sympathetic character. But child, that made me not like the little girl. The way she humiliated Sandy and treated her was disgusting. And I was like, child, F this little girl. Now, the only thing that was confusing in this for me was, why, Sandy, would you bring your friend to this? If she really cared about Ed so much, why put him in this? But at this point, I was like, how the heck is Darby gonna get out of this ish? Ash got a gun, Lars got a nail gun, Darby ain't got no weapon, and she done been maced in the dang face, which I thought mace really F you up, but she ended up just fine. I only hope the Marine done got easily killed. But y'all, Lars was an idiot, believing that he was a part of Ash and the uncle finding better homes for the kids they kidnapped. How the heck do you find a better home for a wealthy little girl from a two-parent household, child? Now, the ending for me was a bit of a letdown. I'm fine with the last man standing final showdown fight, but I need it to be plausible and realistic, at least to some extent. And most importantly, I need it to be exciting and, the climax. Darby's plan of having the little girl walk over and turn the lights off would have never worked with Ash. It could only work with Lars. Also, the tussle with Lars and the little girl should not have taken him as long as it did, child. Like, really? Like, come on now, bro. Darby crashing the car and being completely knocked out, even though she was only in the parking lot going like 3 miles per hour. That was dumb. That ain't make no sense to me. I mean, am I off? Just letting Ash shoot at her in the car with a nail gun when she had a real gun. Girl, fire back, child. What are you doing? Ash lighting the building on fire and then going over to Darby was so freaking stupid. Why wouldn't I immediately go over to her while she's knocked the hell out? Wouldn't it be easier to go ahead, yoke her up? Wouldn't it make more sense to add her body inside the building and burn her with everyone else? Why would I burn the building and then go to her? The cop reaction time was slow. The cop was an idiot. Like, child, what the hell was this? Also, if the police get an emergency text that a little girl has been kidnapped with a picture sent in the text, why the heck would they send one lone officer? They wrapped the story up with the bow at the end, having Darby in rehab, sober, and being visited by her sister. Look, like I said, this was a mid-grade, mediocre little thriller that I thought was entertaining, but not memorable. And it was saved by the actors and a few good twists. I was entertained in I'm watching a mediocre movie, but it is not terrible kind of way. It felt pretty much on one tone, but then once we discovered a big reveal that the nurse is in on it, that was really freaking good. Am I giving them too much credit for that, y'all? That really spruced up my mood as I was watching. I was like, we needed more of that element in the movie. We needed more element of mystery and reveal. I really loved our leading lady. She did great carrying the film, in my opinion. I may have had moments of being bored or unimpressed with some of the filmmakers' choices, but never with her. I would have loved if it were much more on the tone of maybe a psychological thriller. If Darby wasn't clean quite yet, right? If she had only just entered rehab and maybe even been in the midst of detoxing when all of this went down, I'm not quite sure. how drugs and detoxing works, but just that whole maybe element of mind playing tricks on you scenario. Like I said, they definitely needed way more people. There needed to be way more people at the rest stop. We needed to not know who the bad guy was. I think it would have worked better than the repetitious Darby fighting and running to the restroom. Also, look, it just killed me that we only had such small amount of people at the rest stop. We needed more strangers. And we needed the reveal of the bad guys to not come so early in the movie. Overall, I would give this a solid 5 out of 10. For anyone who is unfamiliar, my grading scale is 1 through 10. 1 being the worst movie you ever saw in your life. 10 being the best movie you ever saw in your life. And guys, a 5 is an average movie. So basically, what I learned from this movie is if you are ever in rehab, it is best to just break out because you will likely end up saving the life of a little girl. No. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you watched until the end. If you like my content, please make sure you support my channel by hitting like on this video, commenting down below. Let me know your thoughts. Did you agree or disagree with my take? Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will be alerted when I post TV show and movie reviews. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.